Hello and welcome to another video recap for January 26th, 2016 for a daytradersjourney.com. This is the NASDAQ chart, E-mini NASDAQ for a 12 range bar chart. You can see here I'm using NinjaTrader as my platform, and these bars are consistent of 12 ticks, which is the same as 3 points in the NASDAQ. I like using range bar charts for my trades and better than time-based charts. So today I'm going to go over just the NASDAQ contract because I didn't trade any other contracts today. I do watch the E-mini S&P as well as the Dow and Russell and crude oil, but today I just took two trades that had nice setups in the NASDAQ. And I'm going to go over all the setups that I saw for the first half of the day, just so you can see my thinking and what I'm looking for entries. So in the morning, the market opens at 6:30 a.m. For regular trading hours, and I'm in the Pacific Standard Time, so that's in California here. So after about 6 minutes of trading, this box forms and shows me the high and low of the first 6 minutes of price action. So I wait for price to break out of that range and to give me some trend bias. And you can see it broke down below the opening range, leading me towards taking only short trades, looking for shorts. So as price got below the opening range, I was waiting for it to also get below the volume weighted average of price, which is this lime green line, and it turns red when price is below it, and lime green when price is above it. So once it was below the VWAP as well as below the opening range, that gave me some more strength to the downside. So at that point, I started looking for setups to get in short. The first one happened right after it broke below the VWAP. You can see here in this blue circled area is a trade setup that would have worked out. So the blue shaded circles are going to be for trades that would have worked out positively for profit, and the red circles are going to be the ones that were trade setups that didn't work out, got stopped out. So here's the first setup. You can see this cyan dashed line going across the chart here. That's yesterday's low, the previous day's low. So you can see here as the price broke below the VWAP and yesterday's low, it came back and tested it and acted as resistance. So we had two things combining here to act as resistance. This dashed black line up here is the yesterday's close. So you had that as acting as resistance as well. So three levels of resistance, keeping price below them. So this is a nice setup here. If you saw this, bounce off the resistance, you need two red candles for a setup to be valid for me, bouncing off a resistance area. And this is where it happened. You can see that it happened here too. These two candles here bouncing off yesterday's close and breaking below yesterday's low as well as the VWAP. That could have been a setup as well. So either of these areas, which is circled here, or you can see here these two candles here, two red candles, would have been a good setup. And then you would have just basically timed your entry to get in. And clear that. Sorry about that. Either wait for a pullback and getting in here, or as price pulled back up here, getting in short here and writing that for at least the first profit target. And you probably use up here above the previous day's close for a stop loss area. I usually like to use the three black lines, moving averages here, the 34 EMA of the high, low, and close of price. I like to call it the net. I like to use that for stop losses if it's close to price action, but here it was not very close to the price action at all. It was way below it. Another area of setup here for a long, once price got back above the VWAP, and it was also above this purple line, which is this purple line, which you can see adjusts, is the 50% retracement level from the high of the day to the low of the day, including overnight trading. So price was above this purple line, above the VWAP, above the net, which is these three moving averages, three black lines here, and that gave me some bullish consent to go bullish and look for a long trade, even though that we are below the opening range. So it's a combination of these three things that determine my trend bias. If I'm above 2 out of 3, the VWAP and this purple line, that gives me some bullishness here, even though I'm not above the opening range. So I have these two green candles bouncing off the support level of the VWAP as well as yesterday's low, and the net is right below it. So I like that support. and it's also breaking above yesterday's close, this black dashed line. So once you saw this, you probably would have gotten in around here. I didn't take this trade, but this is something I wanted to show where possible setups were. I don't take every setup. Sometimes I miss them because I'm away from the computer while I'm looking at other charts. But this would have been a valid setup and a profitable trade to the long side. And here around 7:30ish is my first trade that I actually took, and here's the setup for it. You have two green candles bouncing off this white dashed line, which is the standard deviation, the first standard deviation of the VWAP. And this is the only where I take trades off of the standard deviation or the actual VWAP. And so we have a bounce here to the upside, two green candles, waited for a pullback to the net and to give me a good entry with a small stop loss right below the previous lows here in the net, and that kept me in this trade and was a profitable first trade. This green arrow denotes where I actually got into the trade on the actual bar. I actually took the trade here on this bar as price pulled back. Then the next trade is here. Next positive trade that I took was here. This green arrow shows where I got in. You can see price bounced off of the white standard deviation line as well as the net. We have two green candles bouncing off of support, which is the net as well as the standard deviation. Wait for a small pullback, got in here, took it for a long, reached the first target, and trailed the second half of my contracts to get stopped out somewhere around above here. So two profitable trades for the day on the NASDAQ. I also circled this area here and in red as a possible setup that would have been a trick to get in, or a little tricky to get in. You can see here in this area here you had price coming down and being congested around the weekly VWAP, which is this pink line and blue line. This pink and blue, it changes to blue when price is above, pink when the price is below or closes below. So it was oscillating around this weekly VWAP, and price was basically trading in between the white standard deviation line of the daily VWAP, which is down here, and the weekly VWAP. And so a lot of congestion. When you see this happening, you want to make sure price clears above it, all of this, if you're taking long. And this is where it went above it here and bouncing off of the VWAP, off of the standard deviation line, this white line. So that's why I circled it, that it possibly could have been a setup. I didn't take it because, again, the net, you can see how price is in the net. This first bounce bar off this white dashed line was below the net actually, and the second bar didn't even get above the net. So I didn't really like that setup, but I can see this third bar coming up was breaking above the net, breaking above the weekly VWAP line. It would have been intriguing to get in. It probably would have suckered people in. As price came down, you probably would have got in on a pullback, and then you can see it would have stopped you out only about a tick or two below this previous swing lows here. But if I did take that trade, it would have been a losing trade, but I would have gotten right back in here for this blue circle because it was a beautiful setup bouncing off the standard deviation line as well as the net, and that one worked out. So that was it for the day. Hopefully that was clear, and if you have any questions on my strategy, please leave comments, email me questions, and I'll be happy to answer them. Until the next day, see you guys tomorrow.